Is Forbidden Planet my favorite movie of all time? No. Is it my favorite science fiction movie of all time? No. Okay, is it my favorite Golden Era science fiction movie of all time? No. But it is the big kahuna of 50 science fiction movies. And until many years later, I only got to see it on TV. And back then, that meant black and white and pan and scan. And it still looked great. The 50s is often called the golden era of science fiction movies. It was the decade of the War of the Worlds, When Worlds Collide, and This Island Earth. Those were big, colorful science fiction spectacles, but Forbidden Planet was the biggest. In terms of studio resources, it was the Gone with the Wind of 50 space movies. MGM put some money into it. And it's great. Yes, the second act lags a bit, but the underground Krell sequence is a visual knockout, using all sorts of special effects like matte paintings and miniatures. This movie has flying saucers, and this time we're in the driver's seat. This movie's got laser cannons, it's got Leslie Nielsen in a straight part, it's got Anne Francis, and it's got Robbie the Robot, my favorite robot of all time, who also apparently moonlights as a bootlegger. And it's got a really scary monster. And that's the problem, that monster. And that monster is William Shakespeare. God knows we've seen many different settings for Shakespeare's plays over the years, but setting The Tempest in outer space was unique. But it also led to a surprising degree of discomfort when I took my 5-year-old daughter to see it. Because this is not a movie for fathers and daughters. Back in the late 70s, before the dawn of home entertainment was basically TV. But the Tiffany Theater up on Sunset Strip was running Forbidden Planet, and I got really excited because finally, after all these years, I'd get to see the movie in color and in widescreen. Not only that, Robbie the Robot was making a special appearance at the Saturday matinee. And I thought, man, my daughter is just going to love this. She was already a pretty sophisticated moviegoer. She had seen Star Wars opening day at the Chinese theater. It was her first movie-going experience, and she loved it. A little bit later, she had seen Close Encounters at the Dome, and she had loved the drones and silent running. So I thought the chance to see Robbie the Robot live and in person, along with one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made, would make for a pretty cool day at the theater. Well, not exactly. The theater was packed with kids, of course, and Robbie the Robot went over big with everyone. But the movie? Well, I hadn't reckoned on the Bard and the fact that Anne Francis had to deal with her father, who turns out to be the villain. A father who is projecting all of his dark instincts into a monster from the id that was killing people. There was even a creepy subtextual hint of incest. Now, when I was a kid, all that stuff went right over my head. But now, I'm a young father with his young daughter watching this movie, and I'm wondering, what is she picking up from this? When you're a kid, your father is a figure of strength and security. But here, he's not only a bad guy, but a monster, and a really scary monster at that. Maybe taking my daughter to see this movie was not such a good idea after all. And sure enough, she didn't like it much. A few years later, the Tiffany Theater became one of the leading playhouses in Los Angeles. And a few years after that, my daughter made her professional debut as my assistant stage manager in a play I was doing there. And she was a total pro, and the cast loved her. And many years after that, my other daughter made her professional debut as my lightboard operator for a show I had designed at the Odyssey Theater. And she was a total pro as well. Yeah, Both of my daughters did their 2 years before that particular mast, so thank you, girls. See you around the campus.